Welcome to the Fall 2020 Ladies Big Book Study Recording Series. My name is Kimberly and I am a recovered alcoholic. I am the facilitator of a tri-weekly Big Book Study for ladies only, and we record each session so we can share the knowledge along with you. What we do is we read the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous line by line. We pause on each page and have discussion time to share our experience, our strength, and our hope on each page. You are more than welcome to follow along in this series and do the work of the steps of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. If you do need support at any time, please reach out to me in the Contact Us area of my YouTube channel, and we're happy to provide you with support. The online recordings are open to men and women. Do not be discouraged, gentlemen. Our ladies' point of view may offer you a different perspective. So welcome. I hope you enjoy. All right, ladies, we're continuing on in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and we have completed step 5, and we are going to start on the bottom of page 75. Returning home, we find a place where we can be quiet for an hour, carefully reviewing what we have done. We thank God from the bottom of our heart that we know Him better. Taking this book down from our shelves, we turn to the page which contains the 12 steps, which is page 59. Carefully reading the first 5 proposals, we ask if we have omitted anything, for we are building an arch through which we shall walk a free man at last. Is our work solid so far? Are the stones properly in place? Have we skimped on the cement put into the foundation? Have we tried to make mortar without sand? So some of you know my former partner loves the stones, and I have been looking into them, and I too have been loving them. He adds one that I've withdrawn, so we're just going to go over the ones that I feel are in the arch, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong on the last one, which I'll discuss. So the arch that we're building is that triumphant arch to freedom with which we're going to walk into our recovery. And so the stones are found on pages, ready with your pens, 12, 17, 47, 62, and 75. Now, my former partner includes 97. We are going to exclude that, and I'm going to explain why. So first, 12 is the foundation. 17 is the cement. 47 is the cornerstone. 62 is the keystone, and here on 75 is where we complete our arch with the 5th step. We walk through that arch. So if you imagine a lovely cottage in the country, and as you're walking up to this cottage in the country, you see a beautiful fence with a lovely arch. That's the arch we're building with steps 1 through 5. We're going to walk through that, and now we need to look at the foundation from page 97 on which we build our house of recovery. So we've walked through the arch, now we're in the yard, and we need to, 97 is where we build the foundation for our recovery. So this is just the arch we walk through to our recovery. So we go to page 12 and it's the foundation. So we want to make sure our work is solid. So the foundation is found in the 1, 2, 3rd from the bottom paragraph, and it says, it was only a matter of being willing to believe in a power greater than myself. Nothing more was required of me to make my beginning. I saw that growth could start from that point. Upon a foundation of complete willingness, I might build what I saw in my friend. So there is the foundation of our arch, and that is step 2, as we know. Now we're going to go on over to page 17. And in 17, about a 1/3 of the way up from the bottom, it says, the feeling of having shared in a common peril is one element of the powerful cement which binds us. So here we've got the cement we're going to add into our foundation. And what is that cement? It's the fellowship. So we have complete willingness and the fellowship as the base of our arch. And then we're going to go to page 47.
What was the second page?
12 and 17.
Okay.
17 is the cement.
Yeah.
So now we're going to go to page 47. Sorry, I stand corrected. It was that willingness to believe in that this works is the first. This is step 2 now. I am so sorry. The foundation is willingness and fellowship. And now we're going to step 2, which is on page 47, which is, do I now believe, or am I even willing to believe, that there is a power greater than myself? As soon as a man can say that he does believe or is willing to believe, we emphatically assure him that he is on his way. It has been repeatedly proven among us that upon this simple cornerstone, a wonderfully effective spiritual structure can be built. So this is your cornerstone, step 2. And then, as you can probably guess, 62 is going to be step 3, which is our keystone. And it is, oh geez, why can't I find it? Bottom. Next, we decided that hereafter in this drama of life, God was going to be our director. He is the principal, we are his agents. He is the father, and we are his children. Most good ideas are simple, and this concept was the keystone of the new and triumphant arch through which we pass to freedom. My internet connection is unstable. Hopefully it stabilizes. So the keystone is that top middle piece that all of that weight goes on, and that piece is God. So that is our reliance and belief in God. Step 3. And if you want to look further and meditate on it more, you can see that this takes hold of A, B, and C, which can be found in how it works. That we were alcoholic and could not manage our own lives, that probably no human power could have relieved our alcoholism, and that God could and would if he were sought. There's your arch. Now, why I don't include 97, although my friend does, 97 talks about the foundation of recovery. It says, helping others is the foundation stone of your recovery. That is not part of the triumphant arch to freedom. That is the base of your recovery house. So once we've gone through these steps, first we build our triumphant arch to freedom, and then we have to clear away all the wreckage that's on our land. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then we start living in those spiritual principles, 10 and 11. And 12 is the base of our recovery. The foundation, and that's found on page 97. From working with others, you will build the house that your recovery will live in. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. That's on page top of 15. It says, enlarging our spiritual life through work and self-sacrifice for others. That's how we grow. That's how we stay sober. So that's the foundation of the house of recovery. 75 is what we just read at the beginning. It's the, is our work solid so far? Are the stones properly in place? Have we skimped on the cement put into the foundation? Have we tried to make mortar without sand? Are we willing to go to any lengths for our recovery? That's our foundation. Are we willing to be in the fellowship and accept help and join the we? That's the cement that binds us. Willingness to believe in the power greater than ourselves, whatever that looks like, is our cornerstone. Trusting and relying upon God and making him the director is our keystone. Is your work solid so far? If so, let's walk on through that arch, guys and gals. Start building our recovery. That's a big step. So now we're going to go to page 76. If we can answer to our satisfaction, then we look at step 6. We have emphasized willingness as being indispensable. Are we now ready to let God remove from all of us the things which we have admitted are objectionable? Can He take them all, every one? If we still cling to something we will not let go, we ask God to help us be willing. That's step 6. So why would we not be willing to let God remove these things that we think are objectionable? So what are these things we think are objectionable? Well, they're going to be our resentments, our fears, our conducts, and our harms. So why might you not be willing to let these things go? Usually the one that's the most difficult to let go of is fear. Why? Because we have this weird idea that fear protects us from something. But what we've learned through our step 4 personal inventory is that fear is actually what's brought us a lot, if not all, of our misery. So we've got to find that willingness to let that fear go, knowing that we have faith in God and He's there to give us strength and protect us. So step 6 is prayer. We pray for the willingness if we don't have it. Very simple. Okay, let's go on to 7. When ready, we say something like this. My Creator, I am now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. I pray that you now remove from me every single defective character which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. Grant me strength as I go out from here to do your bidding. Amen. We have then completed step 7. Prayer. I highly suggest that if you are new or you're really wanting to get the full bang for your buck from these steps, that you type that out and print it and tape it on your bathroom mirror or on your door or leave it beside your bed. That prayer is amazing. And I use it all the time. And after this process, as I said, I used it every day for 8 months. 8 months every day, morning and evening. I did the step 7 prayer. I've shortened it now where I do it throughout the day if fear crops up. Last night, my daughter, 23, messaged that another one of her friends had died of an overdose. And so fear crept in. I had fear that my daughter wasn't going to handle it well. I had fear that some of my daughter's mental illness was going to rear its ugly head. And I had fear for my daughter. So what was I able to do? I was able to do a modified step 7 prayer and pray that my fears for my daughter were removed and pray that my daughter be given strength to get through this. That's the way I handled that last night. Instead of over-inserting myself in her life or, helicopter parenting or over-messaging her things that weren't helpful, I said, I am really sorry that happened to you. I love you very much and I'm here to support you. And I left her alone and I prayed all night for her. While I was on the night meeting, I was knitting. While I was knitting, I was praying. That was me trying to get out of me, right? So that prayer is amazing. Now I've got some tips and tricks and I've got some, Kimisms, but, there's really great books out there. Drop the Rock is highly recommended by a lot of people. I myself am not a fan. A lot of people can get into self-fixing self in step 6 and 7. Step 6 and 7 says pray and pray some more. There is no work here. There is no action here. There is no fix yourself here. There is all kinds of prayer. Now, of course, I've done work outside. This is where I like to talk about some NLP and some mindset. I myself, at the same time as I did this set of steps back in 2018, is I went to an NLP timeline regression therapist. I don't do traditional psychotherapy. I like the hypnotherapy, which helped me deal with past trauma, and in a junction with this, it's in cooperation with this, and that helped me. Some mindset work I did on my own was with that step 7 prayer. I modify that step 7 prayer to pray away each fear separately, and I've talked about that before. I say, my Creator, I am now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. I pray that you now remove from me my fear of abandonment, which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. Grant me strength as I go out from here to do your bidding. Amen. Why do I do it separately for each fear? Number 1, it's helping me recognize what my fears are. Think back to elementary school when you repeated your times tables over and over and over again. If I pray each fear away individually, I am memorizing my fears. So when I'm doing my step 10, they come up easier. I'm not sitting there going, what fear is this? What fears do I have? Why is this hitting me this way? I know my top 5 fears: abandonment, not being loved, rejection, judgment, and being alone. I know those are my top 5. Why do I know those are my top 5? Because I've prayed them away every day for friggin' 2 years. I know what my fears are because I pray them away individually. Also, I'm asking God individually to remove them. So I'm recognizing to Him, hey, could you take this to me? Could you take this from me? Could you take this from me? Could you help me with this? This isn't helping me. And so I feel I'm being more effective in my precise prayer. Real easy for me to say, hey, take away my defects of character. Yeah, take them. But I'm more likely to know what they are and see them when they pop up if I'm praying for them to be removed. I'm also training my subconscious mind. Alcoholics default to the negative. This is a little bit of Kim's mindset training she took. My mind defaults to the negative 100% all the time. So if I retrain my subconscious mind that this is not serving me, I don't think it's protecting me anymore. Please remove my fear of abandonment, which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. So I'm telling my brain this fear is not useful to me. Retraining my thinking. It's not helping me. It's detrimental. All right, we'll expand as we go. Samantha.
Just have a question. I want to say it was Joe and Charlie tape. Oh, and Sam, alcoholic. Just your thoughts on it, because I see the merit in it. Our brain tends to go to the negative, like you're saying, and the negatives of our defects and our shortcomings. However, it never occurred to me, and I've certainly done it myself, but also praying away what might be interpreted as positive defects and shortcomings too, because that certainly prevents us from things in life as well. So I was just wondering your opinion on it too, because like I said, our brain thinks like oh, FOMO and abandonment and all those kinds of things, but there's also positive defects and shortcomings that we have that have gotten us into trouble. So what were your thoughts on it?
I'm gonna have to meditate on that one.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll have to get back to you on that one. I actually don't have a thought on it right now, so I want it to marinate.
Can you give an example of what you say the positive ones are?
Well, for instance, like sometimes being overly cheerful, might be misinterpreted as you not connecting with a person on a level. Or I mean, it happened to me probably about a month ago. I was walking and listening to the speaker tape, and it all came to me in that moment, of course. So now that I'm put on the spot, I'm like drawing a blank. But I did have examples. But sometimes, like, things that might be more for me, like thinking it was an asset to me could be more so to my detriment. So, I mean, I might have to think of the examples too, to be
Yeah,
honest,
see,
right
because
now.
with that example you just gave me, see, my brain's trained to break it down. That would be a fear of
Right.
judgment for me. Right? So if I think, oh, I being overly cheerful, I don't give a hoot if anybody thinks I'm overly cheerful. That's a them problem, not a me problem. But I would, like myself, I break it down. I'm like, okay, for that, what would it be? Oh, fear of judgment. I'm fearing that someone's judging me for being overly cheerful.
Or like me, I'm a problem solver. So it's because I like to help and I like to problem solve to eliminate an issue, but then, that could be spun negatively too. So it's kind of like
See,
it's
but it
all the things.
depends. It depends too, because that's another one. When you're problem solving, are you trying to control the situation, or are you trying to manipulate the situation in self-seeking?
Mhm.
See, because I think your positive examples are masking the defects.
At times, yeah. I mean, at
Yeah.
times, certainly at times, and then there's other times where it does come from like a sincere, genuine place. So I guess, like what you're saying is just you got to continue to break it down to be incredibly thorough and honest with yourself
Absolutely.
if it is indeed masking something. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. For me, because I like my knee jerk response was like, no, you don't pray away positive assets, but I explore it. So like your examples, I'm like, oh yeah, I got to break that down further. What part of self is it coming from? Right? What are my motives? Because that's where you can see. If my motives are simply to be helpful, there's nothing wrong with it. If my motives are self-seeking because I want to control something or manipulate it to benefit me, then that's the defect I need to pray around. So yeah, we need to go just a smidge deeper on what it is. And usually it's a matter of checking our motives. Yeah, or looking for fear, right? Because I'm like, well, why would I be upset if someone thought I was overly cheerful? Only if I was scared of judgment. Or it could even be the fear of being found out, where you're not really cheery, but you're putting on a cheery face, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, those are, I always break them down. Lois.
I've never been known for my cheerfulness, just so you know. I agree with you though, when Samantha was talking about that, I think, I would say that would be like people pleasing or controlling, and I'm a bit of a controller, because I've been at the job that I've been at for so long. I tend to want to help the new people a little too much, and honestly, they don't want to hear me. Sometimes I'm better off letting them find out themselves so that they learn from their experience. So I have learned to step back from my solution solving a lot. But I when you were talking about the 7 step prayer, I say it every single day, and I've been here 17 years.
Yeah.
And 10 years ago, my sponsor wanted me to learn it and to say it. And I do what you do though with the defects though. Whatever defect is coming up, I will sort of say, I might not say them all individually, but I'll say a bunch of them because I know what's what's what point is getting to me right then. So I think the 7 step prayer to me has always been a great thing because it sort of calms me down too. It'll take me out of whatever angst or whatever frustration that I'm in at that point. So thanks for letting me share.
Thank you so much, Lois. And yeah, comment in the chat, and I just want to elaborate on that one, is that our defects can also be assets when directed by God. And for one example I have is manipulation, right? Or like for me, I used to use manipulation for self-seeking purposes. And now I have a twist on it where I use it to help others. We call it voluntold, or, you say something to get someone to put their hand up in a meeting. Or I had a friend and he had relapsed, and it was a really bad breakup, and he was about to relapse. And, there was a gentleman who needed support. No, he hadn't relapsed. He was about to relapse. He was struggling. And there was a gentleman that was new that needed support. And so in a somewhat manipulative way, I encouraged him to help this person. And what he kept saying to me was, well, I'm in no position to help anybody. I'm in no position to help anyone. And so my response is, well, you're in no position to give relationship advice, but you can help this guy with step one. So I'm manipulating him with words in order to help someone, as opposed to I got nothing out of it. So it was not self-seeking, right? But it was just that little twist of words where, I've been able to use that as an asset to get him out of self to help this person. And he ended up doing fine. Marianne, Toronto.
Hi, friends. I am an alcoholic from Toronto. My name's Marianne. Grateful to be here. Grateful to be sober. I just wanted to ask, I find myself in step 6 a lot lately, just asking God to help me be willing, because I find that this defect of pride keeps coming up, so that I'll take back a resentment, and then almost because I'm addicted to it, because it kind of feeds my pride. So I think I'm doing it right because I know what it is, just to keep going back to step 6 and asking me to be willing. Any thoughts on that? Thanks.
Yeah, and even the specific prayers. So if you think it's hitting your pride, just say, God, can I get some help with my pride over here? Can I get some help being a little more humble? Yeah, asking for it to be removed. We can also ask for the strength to overcome it, for direction in that situation, for the next right thought, or inspiration. We just have to be very careful that this doesn't turn into self working on self, and we were really relying on prayer and God's direction. But the one thing that, where I differ from some other people who talk about step 6 and 7 is, the only work I need to do is to be aware of what my stuff is. I need to be aware of what's in my column 4 and column 5, because it kind of, once we've learned these, we practice these principles in all of our affairs. So like I say, when I'm going through my day, I'm watching for this stuff. Or if I'm in a situation, I'm looking for self. And when I find self, I break it down. What's going on here? Like, so if someone gives me an example, the first thing I look for is fear. What's the fear? What's going on? Why am I having this reaction? And we're able to go through with it and ask for God to remove that fear and do the next right thing. And there's so many examples throughout the day that come up. But, number one for me is judgment. God save me from being judgmental. Not everyone's in the same place as me. And it's just that being aware of what our stuff is. Lori.
Hi, Kimberly. Good to see you all. It's been a while. I'm
so
happy
nice
to
to
be back.
see you.
I know, the time changed, and I'm so confused. I thought you guys stopped going on. But anyways, Lori, I know, I was like, no, and then I added the women's Facebook group, so that was a plus for that. But yeah, so I'm Lori, gratefully recovered, never cured alcoholic, one day at a time, grace of God, big book. And I love that you literally, you started talking about judgment the moment I was about to raise my hand to talk about that. And then you said it, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna raise my hand, because it's a huge one for me. Like my sponsor, when that was pointed out as one of my character defects, that like blew me out of the water. I was like, what? Me judgmental? Like, no way. Like, I love people. Like, how could I be judgmental? And I didn't want to accept, like, deep down in my core that I was being judgmental to, like, for example, like my family member, like out of anyone, like I would, like, I did not want to admit, like, to my innermost self that, like, I had judgment against my brother. And I was like, no way, like, I just want him to be well. Like, I just want him to get better. So I had to, like, really fully be willing to look at that, like you were talking about. And then what really helped me, and I put it in the chat, is, like, my sponsor had me pray and meditate on, some of those character defects, whether or not God would remove them, that maybe some of them could be turned more into assets. So, like, where I was dishonest, praying, every day, praying that I could be more honest, and praying every day that I could be less judgmental, and, like, starting to catch that when in the moment when I was doing it, and just praying for God to change those things in me. And yeah, I just wanted to share that, because it's absolutely all about prayer, but it's also about really getting honest with ourselves and being willing to look at those things that like we think like I feel like sometimes we feel like we can admit like yes, okay, I'm judgmental, but it's like, do I really understand what that means and what it would do to my recovery if I continue going down that road, if that makes sense?
Absolutely. And for me, judgment's always coming up. Fear of judgment plus trying to stop myself from being judgmental, right? I have to remember that I don't know the situation that's going on in other people's lives. It's none of my business. I just need to keep my own side of the street clean and mind my own and offer to be helpful when necessary. But yeah, 6 and 7, pray, 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 pray. I'm watching for things to come up. And you know, the only like little self-work self thing that I would even, you know, dare to offer out there is if you know that judgment is one of your biggest defects, to try harder at, you know, being more empathetic, you know, being conscious of it. You know, I'm not working on me. I'm asking God to help me remove my judgment. And then I'm actually trying to be a kinder, nicer, softer, more loving person. Love and tolerance is our code. I'm able to apply that to my life. But that's not considered self-working on self. I'm still including God in the mix. Anybody else on 6 and 7? Go ahead, Janice.
Hi, everybody. I'm Janice, and I'm an alcoholic. And thanks so much, Kim, for being here. I wasn't going to log in today because we're in the middle of a huge windstorm, and it sounds like the windows are going to blow in, but it seems to be subsiding now. So I can listen and concentrate. But for me, the 6 and 7 step, for me, I like to visualize things, and after the work of 4 and 5, when I got to 6 and 7, it was like being like a little respite, you know, before the 8 and 9, before the next big work, you know, comes along. And in that little hammock and that little cocoon was where I just wrapped myself in God and really tried to, you know, start that relationship with Him, that, you know, build on it rather. And one of my things too is what do you call it? Being sarcastic and like speaking, you know, like to try to please, you know, to make people laugh or things like that. And that one time that I begged, I used to ask God all the time, please help me think before I talk. Please help me think before I talk. And things would sometimes like gonna come out, and I almost feel like God grabbed my tongue and be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna say that. And one time it was like it was a situation where I was gonna maybe make something sarcastic, and it turned out the person had like a disability. It would have been really bad if I had said what I said, even though it would have been funny. But then it turns out you're making fun of some anyway. You know, it would have been bad. And I was so relieved because then afterwards, as soon as I held back what I said, that person and I in the group, we just started, you know, chatting away. And I was like so relieved. And I went home that night and I was up to this part, it's the 6th and 7th, and I was writing in my journal and I was like, oh, thank God, I'm never going to judge anybody again. I'm going to, you know, I don't care. People could say whatever they want. It means, you know, it's not for me to judge. Somebody could stand up and sing if they want. And the next morning I went to a meeting we have on the beach here in the summertime. And we just gather in a circle, and then there's microphones and whatnot. And I go every Sunday morning. And this one morning, one of the first persons to share was this little old man who happened to be sitting on the sand in front of me. And he, you know, stood up, which usually you don't have to. They hand you the microphone. And all of a sudden he's like said, you know, instead of what I'd like to share with you today is a song. And he started singing. So next month's going to be 44 years that I've been coming to these rooms. Not that I'm 44 years sober, nowhere near. But I've never, ever heard anybody sing a name. I mean, I was like sitting Indian style, I remember, and just like, I think I lifted off the ground. It was just like it was the most awesome. It wasn't lights or anything like that. It was just like, whoa, I can't. I don't know. I'm still, after all these. Well, that was like 28 years ago when I finally did get sober, and I still haven't found the right way to describe it. But it was great. I wound up talking to the gentleman, and I actually have the music. Thanks Be to God is the name of the song, and he brought me the sheet music, and I have it in my older edition of the Big Book, and I pull it out once in a while, and it's kind of yellowed, from age, and I just kind of have my memory with it, and it blew me away. But it's 6 and 7, just not to go back and repeat it over, like when we read that last sentence on page 75. Have we skimped on the cement put into the foundation? Have we tried to make mortar out of sand? Reason it took me so long, I did all sorts of 4th and 5th steps over the course of like 17 years, in for the longest time, then not then slip, whatever, and it wasn't beginning, it was because I was too young, and I thought I was too young to give up my life, which drinking was going to be, like, who the hell can have fun or live without drinking? And but then as I got older, I still had this one thing that I was going to take to the grave with me. I was never going to tell anybody. And even I had put together times, length and sobriety, and a year almost one time. And for some reason, I thought I was feeling great. And then finally in 92, when I did come back and on death's door and got sober, I found the first sponsor I had when I was 18, and I let out the secret that I've been holding in. And I don't think it's a coincidence, but I was able to stay sober 10 years at that time before I stopped going to meetings and relapsed. But I was on my way to, like, I was sober. I'm here. Thank you, God. I'm alive. And it was like, you don't know. You think, it won't bother anybody. It's not bothering me. I don't think about it all the time. But it's in there eating away at you. And it's in your subconscious. And I didn't know. I thought I was feeling good, and it wasn't until that came out that I realized how much better. And I was punishing myself all these years for something that happened when I was a child, and I was punishing myself as if I was an adult. So part of that 6th and 7th step was making not amends to myself, but just being aware, and I had a feeling of protectiveness about things, and it just there's a lot. I don't know. It's not just telling our secrets. Over the years you could do it again and again too, and you have different experiences. But just don't skimp. Just because it says in the back in the beginning when we were reading, hardly anyone was it in. I'm not a good quoter on pages and stuff, but when it says, barely does anybody stay sober that skimps on the step. Just if you have to go to a priest or whatever, just don't think you can go on with that one little secret, because you might put a family together, have a career 10 years from now, whatever, and it's in there. It's in there working away at you. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so I did want to say one quick thing for some who might be joining us that have joined us late. So if you joined us in this process late and say you haven't been reading with us from page 1, or the title page. And so you haven't completed steps 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and now we're on step 6 and 7. Please do not be discouraged. You can sit here and you're still going to pick up information, and you can still start practicing the principles that you hear. And for example, prayer. The step 3 prayer, which is found on page 63, right in that middle paragraph. God, I offer myself to thee to build with me and do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of thy power, thy love, thy way of life. May I do thy will office. You can do that step 3 prayer at any time. That step 7 prayer as well. Please remove this from me. If you know you have a fear, even if that fear is doing these steps, ask for it to be removed. You can do that, and it will help you get progress. And what I've always stressed is that step 4 and that step 5 is the clearing away of all the debris on the train tracks between you and God, right? The prayer will still go, but just think of it as if you have a river running downstream and a log and twigs fall on the river, the water will still get past that log. So your prayers will still go, but they're not going to be as strong messages as when you've done the step 4 and 5. So pray, 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 pray. Add prayer into your life from the start and then get into this work. If the fear is of doing the work, pray for it to be removed. Ask God, God, please remove this fear for me to do my 4th step. God, please remove this fear of trusting another woman to do this process. God, please give me the strength I need to get going in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. Pray, 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 pray. There's got to be a song. Marla.
There's got to be a song, but that actually was really helpful because let me just say a couple of things that you really helped me with. I think last week we were talking about motivations, but also trying to control the process instead of letting it be revealed, like when you're filling out the boxes. Because today you said it's self-helping self, and I would come up with that there were a couple of things, actually something really important, and I thought it was this, I won't go into the whole thing, but it was related to sex conduct. So I'm like, I think I need to go to this SA meeting, or I need to do this, I need to do that, or whatever. And it turned out that it was really, like, as you asked, we were talking about this morning, it was prayer. I mean, not prayer, it was fear. And so, it was like, if you have this boyfriend, he'll save you from some other creepy boyfriend. Only the boyfriend you picked to save you is now the new crazy person you have to get away from. But anyways, I think that thing about getting other people and actually that pray, 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 now I'll remember forever hearing you go, pray, 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 and do it. So thank you very much.
Yeah, the last time it was the pause, and now it's pray, 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 pray.
And being a woman of dignity. What was the other thing that you said? Women of dignity and something.
That's Joanne's. That IAA stole that one. Being a woman of dignity and honor.
Honor, that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We use the term women of substance. We're women of substance. Jennifer.
Hey, Jennifer, alcoholic in North Carolina. I just want to say I'm grateful for this meeting when I'm able to log on. It's awesome. I did want to share this, though. So I'm also in therapy and AA. And my therapist said to me one day, because he kept telling me, pause, 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 and I knew that from AA also. But it's hard. It's really hard sometimes because it's like my brain clicks and then I'm gone. And he just kept saying pause so that your brain can physically calm down so you can do the next right thing and ask God for the next right thought or action. But I struggle with it. I'm in a relationship with someone who's also in AA. That's always fun sometimes. But anyway, so what really helped me with that nagging, like if we got into an argument or something and that nagging in the back of my head, like, you can't let it go. It's like that, the committee up there saying, you can't let it go, because he did this, but he did this. And when my therapist said to me one day, because we were talking about God, he said, do you really believe the things that you believe about your higher power? Because if you do, then basically, I'm just paraphrasing what he said, like, why aren't you living in it then? You know, like, where's your focus? And when I thought of that, you know, where is my focus? If my focus is God and, you know, treating others and trying to see others how my higher power wants me to, or my higher power would, then that kind of doesn't leave any room for self, you know, the need to be right, or the need to prove someone wrong, or something like that. And when I really started trying to change my thinking that way and asking God, you know, help me to see this person how you want me to see this person or situation, it was easier for me, or it is becoming easier for me to just kind of let those things go, you know, and just to let it go, you know, talk about it, take responsibility for my part, and then let it go. So I don't know if that helps anyone, but thank you.
Thank you so much. And I just want to add to that the similarities between what our therapist says and what we say in AA. And so, you know, when a therapist is saying pause, you know, they're pausing you to not react. And then in AA, when we say pause, it's a pause, pray, proceed. So we're adding that pause, don't react, to give us an opportunity to pray for the right thought or action. So, you know, and I love, you know, multiple genres, right? So whatever we need to get over the stuff that we can't help in AA, we need to add it in. For me, it was NLP and timeline regression. For other people, it's therapy. Find what works and work it. And, you know, just remember that we're members of Alcoholics Anonymous, and we need to rely on our higher power and not fall into that self-helping self. So the pause, don't react, we add in pause, pray, proceed. And now you don't hop from proceed to proceed if you haven't got an answer to the prayer, right? So we can repeat the process, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. It's not like, okay, pause, pray. Okay, I prayed, now I'm going to react. It's like, no. Pray and wait for that next right thought or action, right? If my blood is still boiling and I'm vibrating, I need to keep praying. Stephanie.
Hey ladies, Stephanie, alcoholic. Yeah, I love this ladies line by line. I can't attend all the time, but I listen to the playbacks and it's so helpful. This is reminding me of detachment as well, if anyone goes to Al-Anon or CODA or anything like that. And in terms of step 6 and 7, more is revealed to me. So I'm praying for this willingness. And I think I have a resentment against one thing. Like, for example, just a super quick example. My roommate who drinks and I don't know if she's an alcoholic, but she left her garbage. She keeps leaving her garbage in our apartment, a big bag of stinking garbage. And honestly, the amount of anger and defects that came up from that was so enlightening for me. But I reached out and talked about it. I realized I actually have a resentment against like alcoholism and alcoholic tendencies and inconsiderateness. And that wasn't on my original step 4. So I don't know if it just morphed into another resentment, but I was able to pray, ask for the willingness, and then look, what's my part? Okay, so my part is I never asked her to take out her garbage. I never brought it up to her because I have a fear of confrontation and judgment. So I didn't do everything that I could have possibly done to like resolve the situation. And then once I figured that out, like magic, I came back to the apartment and the garbage was taken out. So that was cool. Anyways, thanks.
Thank you so much. I have a similar story with leaving cupboard doors open. So I have a teenage son and he leaves cupboard doors open. And I was like, okay, pause, pray, proceed. Pause. And I was like, okay, please close the cupboard doors. And then I thought, you know what? The amount of times that I keep asking him to do it, I'm like, I'm just going to do it myself. And so what I started doing was slamming them. I was like, I'll just slam it and he'll figure it out. And then I realized, you know what? I'm just going to close the cupboard door and move on with my life, because this isn't causing me, and like, it's not worth it. You know, but here it's like, first I tried talking to him, I tried reasoning to him, I tried explaining it to him, and then I tried slamming it, making a big deal, and I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna close it. It's fine. And it's open right now. I am not shitting you. It is open right now because he probably grabbed a granola bar on his way to school. And I'm just like, is it worth that to me anymore? No. You know, but it's just that matter of, you know, pause, pray, proceed. Like, the old me would have messaged him right now and be like, you left that damn cupboard open again. Like, but no, it's just not worth my serenity and peace. Maybe I should pray for the willingness for him to learn how to close them. That's selfish. I can't do that. All right. Anyways, anybody else last chance before we end up? All right. Let's close with the serenity prayer.